Well, in my case, the way I acquired English is since I was in preschool, well, in kindergarten, I've been learning English, and I think learning English in the place I am right now, it's pretty easy because, as my partner said, we're really close to the border, and we're kind of forced to learn that language. And most of the schools, even not private ones, like teach you English. Tijuana, I think it's kind of different because you can go to Monterrey and they can teach. Most of the schools do teach you English, but they don't teach you since you're in preschool. You really need to search for a good school who teach you since you're pretty old, pretty young.
Okay, nowadays English is taken as the universal language, and most of the schools teach it as the principal language. But why is Tijuana different? Okay, most of the schools in Tijuana teach English as a second language, cause Tijuana is at the border with USA.
Well, I think my family kind of helped in the way I learned English because my mother is the one who knows actually English. My dad knows it in the basics. He doesn't like how he talks when he talks in English, so he doesn't talk it very much. My brother, he kind of hates English, but my mother instead, she's the one who always pushed me to talk English even more since I was in high school. Um, when I got into secondary, I kind of like entered into a program that's called BCI Bachillerato Internacional. That program was just me talking in English most of the classes. The classes were always in English with the exception of Spanish and PE.
Okay. In my case, my family rarely talks English. I have two younger brothers who only know the basics of English. My mother doesn't talk English at all, and my father, who is the one of the family who knows most of the language, um, it's like level higher than me. I don't know. Concluding at how my identity is related with learning English, I will take example. I love video games. Something that I consider is the most related of how I learn is because of my video games are English, are in English, and even though I sometimes use subtitles, and the fact that they are in and the language forced me to learn more of the language.
In my case, I think my friends were the most involved in how I learned English because obviously friends are there like 24/7. And in my case, my two best friends only knew English since when I entered to high school, I had two best friends, and they both only speak English. So it was kind of hard to communicate in Spanish, obviously. So they kind of forced me in a good way to start learning English to talk to them even more. And they soon enough became my best friends because we had a really good connection. And even though one of them does know now how to speak English, does know how to like write it, I keep talking to them in English. And most of my friends, most of the times, even though they're not from US like my friends are, I talk to them in English because I love English. English is like one of my favorite languages, and it's kind of fun to talk in another language. At least here in Mexico, knowing that most of the people don't know them, like when you walk them by the street, you know that they do understand kind of what you're saying, but they cannot follow you if they don't have the same level. So it's kind of fun. Even with one of my friends who don't know English at all, we just start talking in English, and they're like clueless about what we say. So I think that's how it's related to my identity as a person because honestly, English is part of my life on my daily basics. And that's it for both of us. I think that's how I learned English, how I acquired it, and how like every aspects in my life affect how I learned. What do you think, Carlos?
I think that English affects a lot of in our lives. It could gives us more experiences, more will give us more opportunities for work or something at the future. That's
Bye.
my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Bye.